Okay, so now we'll see some other features of the Yahoo Fantasy website. So here, when you log in, this should be the main screen that you see. It shows a few things like the standings for the league. On the right here, we see the matchups for week 1, and then there's going to be different matchups for week 2. And so anyway, that's one thing we can use. Here we see recent transactions, so we see players that have been dropped and added recently. So if you want to see all of them, you can click View All, and you can see all the recent transactions. So maybe there's a player looking for that, maybe they are available now. You can see it there. So, all right. So now we'll talk about how to manage your team here. So if you click on the My Team tab, I guess this is after you've gone through and done what we did last time with the add and drop video. Now you have your team as optimized as you can get it for this week. So, all right, so just to give you an idea of what we have here. All right, so here are all of my players here. And so we have different positions: quarterback, two wide receivers, two running backs, one tight end. These two positions are called flex positions, so you can put either a wide receiver or a running back in this position, or you could put a wide receiver, running back, or tight end at this position. Whichever player is going to give you the most points, you can put them in. So then these four BNs, these are players on your bench. So they're on your team, but technically, if they're down here, they're not going to be playing that week. So then we have one kicker, one defensive team. So I've got Atlanta as my defensive team, and then two defensive players. That makes up your team. All right. So here, there's a couple things we can look at. The default tab is stats. So once again, this is showing the fantasy points from last year. Currently is what it's showing. So another thing we can show is the projected stats, and this shows how many points each player is projected to score in week 1. So notice we have the different weeks here. So here we're in week 1. Michael Vick is projected to score 24.7 points, and so on and so forth. All right, so you kind of want to make sure that you have your best players up here in these starting positions and not on the bench. So for example, I've already moved players. For example, I had, let me just show here. Let's see. All right. Okay, so this is the way my team kind of started out, and I noticed that I had a player, Devon Bess, who was projected to score 16 points, and I have a player up here, Danny Amendola, who was only projected to score 9.91. So I decided to switch the players. So we can just move Devon Bess up to replace Danny Amendola. In the same way, Patrick Creighton projected to score 12 points, and I had Santana Moss, who's only projected to score 9.61. So I decided to move him up, replace those guys. And so now pretty much I have the best players that I can get up there in the top. The only exception being Dwayne Bowe and Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown's kind of a rookie and Dwayne Bowe's more a veteran. So since their points are pretty similar, I'm going to kind of leave them like it is. Okay, so whenever you make changes like that, you want to make sure to click Submit Changes, or else they're not final. So, all right. So that's pretty much managing your team and making sure you've got your best players in these starting positions. So one last thing we can look at is the matchup. So you can click Matchup. And so this page shows you for week 1 who you're playing against. And so I believe this is my opponent for this week. And so we see that we can see a few things here. You can see your opponent's players. Of course, you can see your players here. And then you can also see the projected points for each team. So you got that. From this page and other pages, you can also easily see other matchups in case you're interested in other players and how they're going to do. So if you're interested in the Chunky Monkeys and Badgers matchup, you can click that. And you can also kind of peek in on other people's teams. So we see the Chunky Monkeys team here and the Badgers team. So just one other thing you might want to look at. But that's pretty much it. That's the basic features of the rest of the Yahoo Fantasy League. All right, so we've covered adding and dropping in the previous video, and now we've covered kind of managing your team and making sure you've got good, your starters all set up. And that's pretty much it. So after week 1, what I usually do is I go in and I just reassess my team and decide, okay, who do I need to add, who do I need to drop, and using the same things we talked about in the previous add drop video, and then manage your team, make sure your starters are good, and that's pretty much it from week to week, those 2 things. All right, that's it.